Hi, it's Chris, K2CJB with K2CJB Radio. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about my Field Day 2020 preparation. You know, this year the ARRL, in light of the pandemic and all of the stay-at-home orders and parks closing down and things like that, had put out a statement back in March saying that it was a time to adapt. The club I belong to wisely decided to forego doing a full-blown 5 Alpha operation this year for Field Day and told all of us to operate from home. This way we wouldn't have to worry about trying to accommodate social distancing and that sort of thing at a park or trying to stay in tents together. So this has given me an opportunity to think about doing something that I have always wanted to do in the 44 years that I have been a ham radio operator, and that is to set up a tent in my backyard and operate one Bravo to do Field Day on my own in my backyard. If you've been following this channel for a while, you know that I've gotten into POTA activations and a lot of QRP portable operations. So this will be a real challenge for that. Now, Field Day requires a significant amount of planning. Whether you're a club or whether you're operating on your own, you need to plan the entire event out. Now, taking a page out of Julian, OH1 STN of Survival Tech Nord's playbook, the way to treat an operation like this is to treat it as a mission and to have goals and to figure out what tools and supplies you need to accomplish those goals. So here's my attempt at planning my first Field Day mission. The mission is to operate as many bands and make as many contacts as I can, but keep the entire project on a reasonable budget. Let me say at the outset that I'm not a camper. The only time I ever slept in a tent, I was in the 6th grade when I went camping with a friend of mine, and we were actually at a campsite with his parents in their little trailer. So I've never really stayed or set up a campsite in a tent. My wife and I had a boat for a short time, and we stayed out overnight on that. But again, it's not like staying in a tent, so I have minimal experience when it comes to that. In fact, I would say I'm a beginner. So after weeks of research, I decided on the Coleman Sundome 4 tent. It has enough room for 2 people and some gear, so it should have enough space for a small table, chair, and sleeping space for me as well. It also has a small zipper opening to allow a path for antenna cables in and out of the tent. The plan is to use the Field Day shelter for the entire operation, and that would begin Saturday morning all the way through Sunday. So the only time I will go inside is to use the facilities. We have a grill on an outdoor patio adjacent to where I'll have the tent set up where I can cook some meals. Now let's talk about the radios. For HF, I have my FT817ND that I will be using. For VHF and UHF, I have 2 HTs, the TYT TH350 and the Yaesu FT70DR. I will also use my Baofeng UV5R as a backup radio and also to listen to weather and things like that. I'm also going to bring out this Crank AM/FM weather radio that I have, which has a little solar panel on it, just to experiment with and see how it holds up. I plan to operate single sideband primarily, but I'll probably operate CW as well. I also want to try FT8 using my MacBook Air, interfacing it to the FT817 with the Tigertronic signal link that I have. I will use my iPad with the Hamlog app for logging and other radio operation applications. Now let's talk about power. I did a significant amount of research and thought on this. Currently, for power, because everything will be operated battery power. So for power right now, I have a Duracell 8 amp hour SLA battery. Yeah, it's like a brick. I picked up also a Bioenno 4.5 amp hour battery and charger to get my feet wet with the Bioenno product line. Then I considered doing solar, putting a small solar panel out to use as a trickle charger for my SLA battery. And after researching that a lot and realizing that this would probably be the only time I would use it, I found it to be more cost effective to just simply buy another SLA battery. So that's what I did. So between the 3 batteries now, I've got close to 20 amp hours worth of power. And I figure that should get me through the entire exercise. If the batteries run out, I have some Eneloops that I'm going to install in the FT817, and that can get me through to the end. For the HTs, I bought a backup battery for the TYT and also ordered a backup battery for the FT70, which has not come in yet. The MacBook Air and the iPad will be fully charged when I start the operation. The MacBook Air battery life is extraordinary. So I'm really not too concerned about running out of battery power with the MacBook Air. I will only activate it when I'm operating FT8. The iPad also has some terrific battery life, but I also have some USB power ports. One is a 28,000 milliamp hour power port, and the other one is a 6,000 milliamp hour power port. I've got a couple of those, so I think between the three of those, I'll have enough power to keep the USB devices running. Operating sideband, I will use the stock mic running through the SodaBeam speech processor, and for CW, I will use the MFJ paddles that I built as the MFJ kit. Now let's talk about antennas. The first antenna I will deploy will be the Wolf River Coil Silver Bullet 1000 on the Wolf River Coil tripod with the MFJ 1979 17-foot whip on top of that with a couple of counterpoises. I will also deploy the K9 ARV link dipole built by Tim Ortiz, which will operate 20 and 40 meters. I also, when I surveyed my property here at home, I realized that I can run a long wire antenna. So I have that small portable LC tuner, and I'm going to run a random length long wire antenna also to operate. For VHF UHF, I will run the N9TAX Slim Jim antenna, and that will connect to whatever HT I'm operating. Now I know this selection of antennas will get me on 20, 40, and 80, and I should be able to operate 10 and 15 as well, and perhaps 6 if I collapse the MFJ whip all the way down, but that's going to have it pretty low to the ground. So not too sure how well that will work. For test gear, I will have with me the Rig Expert to make sure the antennas are working properly and properly matched and tuned. And I'll also have a battery meter that can keep track of the amount of battery power that I have used throughout the exercise. Now I needed a few things in addition to what I had already. I decided also that I wanted to use the Heil headset in addition to using the stock mic. When it gets late at night, I don't think the neighbors are going to appreciate hearing a radio all night long, so I'll have the headphones on for that. But for that, I needed to get the appropriate adapter to be able to connect my Heil Pro headset to the FT817. I also needed a push-to-talk switch for the Heil, and thank you to Wesley Matthews on eBay, who makes a really economical and high-quality push-to-talk button that connects with the Heil. For the long wire antenna, I went out to Lowe's and picked up a spool of 14-gauge wire. For the signal link, I had the data cable for the 817, and I had the USB cable that fed to the signal link, but I needed the cat control cable to go from the computer to the FT817, and I picked that up on Amazon. I'll also make a handful of RG8X different length cables for the event. For my operating position, I have a couple of folding chairs, like outdoor camping type folding chairs, and I picked up a couple of small folding tables that will fit inside the tent. For lighting, I don't have any camping lighting. I have a couple of those little Harbor Freight little LED lights you can hang up. So I went to Lowe's and I picked up a camping lantern that operates off of D cells, and I'll have spare D cells with me to last throughout the night. I also have some small clamp-on directional lighting that's USB powered that I can use as well if needed. For food, we have a couple of coolers that I can have stocked. And like I said earlier, I do have a grill nearby where I can cook up some hot meals if I want them. Let's talk about support. The XYL is not a ham, but she does support my being active in the ham radio hobby. So what I'm going to do for her is to set up, give her one of our FRS radios and leave that in the bedroom in the house, and I'll have one outside so she can check in on me throughout the night, make sure I'm still okay. So of course, before the day comes, before the weekend comes, I will set up everything and test everything to make sure it all works, especially the FT8 interface. I want to make sure I've got all the little bugs worked out on that. But here's my plan for field day week. On Wednesday, I'll put all the devices on chargers and install fresh batteries in devices that do not have rechargeable batteries. On Thursday, I'll organize all the gear in cases and packs. Friday afternoon, I will erect the long wire and test it with the rig analyzer. Saturday morning, I'll put up the tent, set up the vertical and dipole antennas, bring the chairs and tables and sleeping gear into the tent, and then we'll have lunch. And after lunch, we'll bring the radios out to the tent and begin operating at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 1800 UTC. I'll operate Saturday into the night, moving to quieter modes, CW and FT8, after 9 or 10 p.m. I don't need the neighbors complaining. On Sunday morning, I'll have breakfast in the tent and operate the quieter modes again for a couple of hours, moving to single sideband. I will need to shut down around 9:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time since, as a pastor, I do need to be at church at 11 a.m. I don't know if I'll be back in time to get another hour or so to the end. So what do I hope to accomplish? Well, obviously making as many contacts as I can in the field operating QRP. This is also an antenna experiment in that I'll be able to compare the vertical, the linked dipole, and the long wire and just see how they perform on different bands. FT8 operations with the FT817 will also be completely new to me. This will also test my battery capacity for all the batteries that I have to power all of my devices. And finally, I hope to survive the night in the tent. Again, I've never operated field day before, but I haven't been in a tent since I was in the 6th grade, so this will be pretty exciting for me. So, if there's anything you think I've forgotten, which I'm sure I have, then please leave a comment down below and let me know, because we've got a couple of weeks yet and I can probably address some of that. I will say this, my son-in-law did tell me that I'm going to need a small battery-operated fan in that tent, so I'm working on getting that as well. I didn't mention that earlier, but that is in the plan. So please consider subscribing to this channel, and also if you like this video and you want to see more of them, click the like button. You know, those things, I always say this at the end of a video because it's true. Those things encourage us YouTubers. You know, when we see subscribers and we see people liking what we're doing, and certainly see a lot of comments coming along, that encourages us, you know, to keep working on new videos and bringing more things out to you. So I hope this is informative to you, and certainly whatever you feedback to me will be a lot more informative to me. So again, stay with it. We're going to be doing field day. I will do a field day video, of course, and this is a year for us to adapt. So if you're doing field day in a similar way that I am, definitely share it. Let me know what you're doing as well. So until next time, we'll see you on Field Day 2020. 73 from Chris, K2CJB.